Welcome to the All About Balance virtual stand. Really pleased to be exhibiting here at the Digital Running Show. All About Balance, we are the UK distributor of Barefoot Science insoles, which is a unique insole for stimulating balance, the proprioceptive nervous system. I've got a couple of products here. I'll run you through them and then explain how they work. So Barefoot Science was invented by a chiropractor about 20 plus years ago in Canada, and he wanted to stimulate balance, improve balance in people. So he created this insole with a dome shape on this spot here with a pocket underneath. Now the dome is placed under our centre of mass, so every stride we take when we're running or every step we take when we're walking, our load transfers down through this area, so we gain a stimulation into what is a hugely nerve engorged part of the foot for our balancing and stabilising system through this proprioceptive nerve system. He was obviously a bit of a clever clogs, this guy, because he also, I don't think perhaps knew, but science has shown us by EMG testing, where we can measure muscle firing, by gait analysis, where we can measure left side and right side symmetry of the body, that when people start wearing Barefoot Science insoles and work their way through these different levels of plug that go into the slot inside, over a period of time, well, fairly quickly their balance improves. And we'll come back to that in a minute and talk about balance a bit more. But also their muscle firing increases, particularly up there, what's called the posterior chain, so through the calf muscles, the hamstrings, the glutes, and the paraspinals. And of course, for runners, the hams and the glutes are the big power guns for us. So the foot comes down, hits this point, creates a mild stimulation that fires up to the brain through the proprioceptive system and triggers all of these changes. So how do they work? Well, underneath we have this socket into which you fit 6 or 7 progressively large plugs. Number one just pops in and provides a small amount of stimulation. After a while you'll get to a point where you're walking around or running in them and you barely notice them. That's the point that you'd go up to number 2 and then carry on through the range in exactly the same way. Number 4 is actually the thickest. It's quite a bit of a chunk. That one's quite noticeable, that goes in there when you get to that stage, and they all sit in there nice and smoothly. 5 and 6, the profile changes, they get longer and they get wider. So you can see in comparison with the number 4, they're quite a different shape and structure, but in actual fact they're not as thick as the number 4. Number 4 is the thickest. So we get to numbers 5 and number 6 and then you stick with them. They keep providing you with the stimulus that our brain needs in order to tell our body how to balance itself, to tell it where it is in space relative to things around us. So a lot of people see these and they say, oh, is it an orthotic? Well, we actually describe it as a non-orthotic. It's not propping the foot up on the inside edge. It's actually just a training system to retrain the muscles of the foot, retrain this nerve system and get us performing better, more efficiently, better balanced. Now, why is balance so important for runners? It's a question we get asked a lot. Well, every stride, same as when we're walking, every step is at some stage a one-legged balancing act. Our foot comes down onto the ground. If you've ever had a gait analysis done on a very high-tech piece of kit, it'll show your foot coming down in what's called load response or contact time. How efficient is your foot hitting the floor and ready to push off for the next step? And that's what gets measured. And this is what Barefoot Science is really, really good at stimulating. It helps fire up those muscles that control that landing of the foot and give it the recoil for the propulsion forward for the next step. So that's the key factor with them. We've got full length versions. We've got 2 different models. The orange ones are what are called active for everyday wear use and sports use. A variety of sizes, obviously. And we also have both the active range and the therapeutic range, which is the green one, in full length and 3/4 length. The full length ones we tend to recommend if you've got a pair of trainers where you've got a removable insole. It's a straight swap. If you need to, you can trim the insole just to make sure it fits. So if you imagine that was your insole that's come out of your shoe, you just offer the Barefoot Science insole up using the existing insole as a template. And if you need to, you can just trim around the edges, just mark it with a pen and trim around the edges. So really simple to fit. There isn't really an accommodation period where you have to wear them in. You can just get going and start using them. If you've got injuries, it's a little bit different. Incredibly effective at treating things like plantar fasciitis. Achilles tendonitis, shin splints, but right the way up the chain. Because of this effect on the asymmetries, correcting them back to symmetry, it can work right the way through the body up to the shoulders. So it's a great product, a great asset to have as a runner. The therapeutic ones got slightly more cushioning. They were designed initially for people with type 2 diabetes related problems, or maybe where you've got reduced fatty pads on your heel or under the balls of your toes. So a little bit more cushioning to help with that. But again, it's exactly the same principle, except for with the therapeutic, we go up to a number 7 insert, which again is wider still than the 5 and the 6. It's quite a bit wider, it gives a bigger surface contact area, therefore more stimulation. So how do we know this improves balance? Welcome to real world. We've got chainsaws going, we've got gardening going. This is the COVID lockdown. Well, to test balance, it's incredibly simple. Now, as part of the digital show, we're able to do these little workshops, little demo sessions. So we're going to be doing a demo session all about balance, where we're going to get as many of you who want to take part to test your balance, see how good your balance is standing on one leg. We're going to add some extra challenges in. Obviously we can't do this all on the screen at the same time, but in a clinic environment I test somebody in different positions on a slant board with their foot either in a heel strike position or a toeing off, pushing off position, with their foot rolled in or their foot rolled out. It's a very, very revealing test to do, very useful. But what we'll do is we're just going to show you a simple way to test your balance and a simple way to assess your gait to see whether you are supposedly over-pronating, which is sometimes the thing that everyone has thrown at them. We've got shoes for over-pronation, we've got orthotics for over-pronation. I fitted orthotics for 25 years and gradually fell out of love with them. Barefoot Science provides the stimulus to our feet that we need to function better in ourselves, not rely on other things to help us. So that's a fundamental change, and we can look at that in the test that we do. Following this little chat, we've got a show reel going on which shows the different applications for it, how it's used in the gait analysis test, some examples and some testimonials from different people. So I hope you engage with this. Come along to the open session, it'll be great fun, there'll be lots of people wobbling around and falling over. So let's see how that goes, and if you want to buy a pair, we're of course like everybody else at the digital show doing a special show offer. That's available through the show's shop, and there'll be a code for you to access there. So please come along, and thanks for watching. Okay, bye.
Katie Tsuzuki and I'm an Olympian. I went to the 2014 Olympics for snowboard halfpipe and I'm still an active athlete. Barefoot Science has really made a difference in my athletic performance because I'm aligned all the time, I'm symmetrical, it's allowing me to be more powerful, and so all of those things just make a better athlete. Every single athlete, especially if you're a runner or you're doing anything where you're connected to the ground, should have a pair of these Barefoot Science. But not only that, I think that Barefoot Science is important for even the average person to have in their life. You want to be able to go out and shop for 5-6 hours and not have a sore back. It's not about increasing the longevity of your athletic life, it's about increasing the productivity and performance of your everyday life. Since I've been with the Barefoot Science guys, I have learned so much about nerves, about proprioception, about cognitive processing, about your speed of processing. I think that a lot of people are walking around drunk. Dramatically reduced utilization of normal kinematics. There's no connection between their whole body and their foundation and the floor, which are their feet. You guys might have heard this word before, SOP. It means speed of processing, and that's basically how fast your brain can go through your cognitive functions. The WITI system is a great way to help measure your SOP, your speed of processing, and increase it. A few months ago, I was in a pretty serious accident. I was knocked out in training for about 5 seconds, and it was probably the worst concussion that I've ever had. And there was big changes in my gait and my step length due to that concussion, and we were able to measure that by using the micro gait and the WITI systems. I really feel that Barefoot Science helped my recovery. It was activating my brain constantly. It was also helping with my gait, helping to keep my gait a little bit more consistent. I really feel that being aligned and symmetrical will increase the longevity of my sport life because there's nothing grinding, there's nothing tearing. The feeling that everyone has that if you've been doing for a sport for a long time, you're gonna wreck yourself and you're gonna have arthritis and you're gonna be all banged up. We must be doing something wrong if that's how we're setting up our athletes. A well-oiled machine will keep on moving. A well-aligned machine will keep on moving. If your car's wheels are out of alignment, then you're gonna be in the shop within the next month. But if your wheels are all good and you're moving, then you could drive to Kalamazoo if you wanted to. I hope my competitors never find out about Barefoot Science, and I'm glad that there's a finish line to my career because after that, then I do feel like I can just, go into the snowboard world and be like, why aren't you all on Barefoot Science? You should all come.